Inside Kenan Stadium, I'm Inside Carolina's Ross Martin, joined by Adam Smith. The Tar Heels defeat Virginia 31-28 to move to 8-0, 8-1 on the season, 5-0 on the road, and 5-0 in conference. We just listened to Mac, Phil Longo, Gene Chizik. It's about 82 degrees, sunny, warm here on November 7th on a Monday in Chapel Hill. Adam, your takeaway in general from here for the Tar Heels as they head to a tough Wake Forest game, coming off 2 losses. But UNC, it's all good right now for the Tar Heels.
It is, and there's 3 games left in this thing in the regular season, and as we know, one more win to clinch the Coastal title. That's all UNC needs. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios, obviously, but one win wipes out all those other ones. And Max said today UNC is going to have to play much better in Winston-Salem if it expects to beat Wake Forest as compared to the way he played against UVA on Saturday in Charlottesville.
Yeah, this will be their last road game heading to Winston-Salem. But looking back at Virginia, the D-line wasn't the best part of the game for the Tar Heels. Gave up a bunch of rushing yards in the first half. Had limited pass rush. We talked about the pass rush a lot leading into the Wake Forest game and following up the Virginia game. Missing 3 starters in defensive line with Noah Taylor, Reva Hasek, and Desmond Evans out. Your general takeaways with the defensive line now heading into Wake Forest game?
I mean, I think is it the area of focus? I mean, obviously Wake has those tall receivers like A.T. Perry on the outside where coverage is going to be huge. But, I mean, as we've seen the last 2 games, Sam Hartman, the great Wake quarterback who seems like he's been there forever, sacked 11 times the last 2 weeks by Louisville and NC State. And that is an area that UNC just hasn't been able to generate pressure on many opposing quarterbacks. They're last in the league in sacks, and it seems like, Gene Chizik talked about it today.
Yeah.
You got to get back there and try to bother Sam Hartman. It sounds so simple. It's almost like, duh. You want to put some pressure on the opposing quarterback, but.
Gene Chizik was not very happy with the defensive line's performance overall. Asked him about the run game and the pass rush and said they can do much better.
Yeah.
They are last in the ACC in sacks.
Correct.
And they're going against Sam Hartman, who's the most sacked quarterback in the ACC. Yeah. He's had 6 interceptions in the last 2 games at Louisville, at NC State, and also given up 3 fumbles at Louisville too. So it's kind of a battle of the bads in terms of sacks. Interceptions.
He could get well. He could get well against the UNC defense. Obviously, the Tar Heels don't need that.
That's right. And Storm Duck's playing a lot better. I know I wrote about him registering a really high PFF grade. What have you seen from Storm Duck that stood out to you? Kind of becoming a little bit more of a star with some breakout plays for the Tar Heels.
And you've seen the playmaking ability sort of just like jump off the field the last couple of games. The way he closed the Pitt game. Blowing up the screen play and then the 4th down play to finish off the Pitt game in here and Carolina's big comeback. And he had the interception on the ball was tipped twice, wasn't it? At UVA player, and then Cedric Gray, I think, got his hands on it. So, I mean, you want to talk about an encouraging sign is just to see him after all the injury history that he's been through. And Mac has said it and Gene Chizik has said it about Storm that they just feel like he's gotten more confident in planning and attacking and making plays.
And they need him to have a big game against some really good Wake Forest wide receivers, A.T. Perry, among others. And Sam Hartman, he can spin it.
He can spin it, Ross.
That's a Larry Fedora line.
He can spin it. Would you like to talk about the slow mesh that they run?
Right,
That's another football guy term.
Slow
mesh.
It's a little bit different of an offense to prepare for, too, for UNC.
It definitely is. Warren Ruggiero, great offensive coordinator at Wake Forest. Gene Chizik was saying today, he's like, this is not an offense that you see. Yeah. And he's been out of the game for 5 years, but I don't think you see the when he was with the SEC network, I don't think he was studying the slow mesh and things like that down there in the SEC.
And then getting to UNC's offense, a pretty good performance, 31 points against Virginia. They did enough. I mean, Josh Downs, one of his best games. I mean, Phil Longo, you asked him a question about Josh Downs, and it was a good 3-4 minute speech on how special Josh Downs is.
Yeah, I mean, monster game. You wrote about it, the Josh Downs takeover.
That's right.
Read it at InsideCarolina.com. You wrote about it Saturday. I mean, is Josh, what would you say, Ross? Is he just the ultimate X factor in terms of, for this Carolina team, the one guy people can't match up with?
Yeah, I mean, Jeff Schottmer talked about it this morning on Calling the Shots, Inside Carolina, presented by Blue Shark Vodka. The way he gets open and his ability to just get open on 3rd down or whenever Drake May needs him is so special and such a weapon. especially on goal line, red zone too.
Everything.
It's just so quick with his route, so precise. I mean, he definitely is an X factor. He's a huge weapon, and he had one of his best games against Virginia. And look, he could have more catches. And I think Drake didn't miss him, but Drake could have hit him more in certain scenarios.
Well, Drake spreads the ball around. I mean, you saw how he caught over 100 passes with Sam Howell last year. Like, yeah, I mean, it's. What is it? 35 catches the last 3 games, 44 targets for Josh Downs. And you're talking about the way he gets open. I mean, remember the Duke game, that 4th down where they're driving for the go-ahead score, the winning score. Downs said it was, he improvised to be able to get open. I mean, they had to have it in that situation.
He's special. UNC fans should enjoy him and Drake May. Drake May maybe takes another step in the Heisman race with some play by, Hendon Hooker and C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young kind of having some struggles last week. Drake May was solid again. I don't know if we need to talk about him much more, but he's special.
I thought you had a good question to Mac today. Like, Mac, how many of your players have gone to New York for the Heisman ceremony? I thought that was a pretty good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He had 3, and I think he had 1 winner.
Ricky Williams won it, and then go ahead.
Vince Young was there.
And Colt McCoy.
There you go.
Yep.
And Elijah Green's worth talking about. You're a big word. Phil Longo and Mac Brown wanted to pare down the running back room. It's been pared down.
It has been.
66 snaps versus 11 for DJ Jones. Elijah Green had all the carries from a running back perspective, scored on the ground and through the air with a very nice pass play. Your thoughts on Elijah Green seizing this job, coming from 5th to 1st, like some horse race,
right?
Your take there on Elijah Green, who's become the man for UNC in the backfield.
Down the stretch they come, right? Like the horse racing analogy. Like, who could have seen this coming with Elijah Green? Obviously, I mean. Yeah, he scored against Duke, and he I guess started against Pitt, but then the game Saturday where he was over 90 yards rushing, he had the receiving touchdown where he spun away from the guy. I mean, that touchdown ended up being huge, obviously, because it was the 4th quarter and UNC needed all of those points. But yeah, he carried 22 times. And what if Phil Longo said today, like, he wasn't going to be worried about being tired until after the game.
Yeah. And they were like, Longo's like, we feel really good with where we are with our running back room. We feel really good with Elijah Green. Mac raves about him. The offensive lines we're talking about. Austin Richards is becoming an all-ACC type tackle. They've been pretty solid. They get 4 sacks against Virginia, but the protection, I think, is a lot better than it was for Sam last year.
Mac said that when they went back and looked at the film, that the coaches only charged 2 of those sacks, 2 of the 4 to the O-line. And he also said on the offensive line, he said Spencer Rowland played maybe his best game or one of his best games on the opposite side from Richards. So 2 tackles.
And that's the 2 tackles. And, of course, Corey Gaynor did a solid season. We don't talk about Corey Gaynor much because he doesn't make many mistakes, and we don't talk to him.
Wish we could talk to him.
That's right.
There's still time, Corey. There's still time.
And as we wrap this up, I mean, changing again back to Wake Forest, UNC has a chance to go 9-1, 6-0 in the ACC, 6-0 on the road. A huge opportunity here for the Tar Heels. It's going to be I think the spread's 3.5. The over/under is something like 80. I know you're big about the numbers in the last few games against Wake Forest. It could be a big offensive game for both teams.
Well, the last 2 games they've been here the last 2 years, and they've been in the 50s. And Carolina has won both games with Sam Howell going nuclear in 2020. I think he threw for over 500 yards. And then Ty Chandler went crazy here last year when Wake was unbeaten and ranked in the top 10. That was Wake's first loss of the season last year. So there's been 2 pretty big-time matchups here. We'll see what we get in Winston-Salem. But, yeah, I would think a shootout is coming.
Yeah, not a ranked game as we expected. It could be setting up to be a top 25 game, but Wake's loss, as you say, pushed them out. It's going to be a big one underneath the lights. 7:30, ESPN2. I mean, this was the game I think a lot of people had circled as the toughest matchup for UNC on the schedule outside of Notre Dame and potentially NC State, but now it's looking like Wake or State remains tough games for Tar Heels.
Well, 2 weeks ago, Wake was an Orange Bowl hopeful. You thought like maybe this game you looked at a couple of weeks ago could determine who goes to the Orange Bowl. That, of course, was before Clemson lost too. So a lot has changed.
That's right. All right, that's gonna be about it for us.
There you go.
It's going to be about it for us here in Kenan Stadium. The sun went behind the clouds. We're getting ready for a basketball game tonight. Woo. So a busy day here for Inside Carolina. I got Adam Smith. I'm Ross Martin. Appreciate y'all watching.